I send him. I mean, now that I moved away from the guys, like that's how we've been writing the album is like, I'll start a riff or something, and then usually the first person I send it to is JP, and
Mm-hmm.
he usually will send me like a video back, and I'll like extract the audio from that, and then have an idea of like what I'm gonna do next. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like how we've been doing it. But I don't know, like I kind of think like we did this album kind of ass backwards. Like a lot of these songs were written without vocals in mind,
Okay.
obviously, because we were instrumental for the longest time. And now that we added vocals last summer, that's when we're like, okay, now we need to probably rearrange these songs, take out like a little bit more leads and
Yeah.
actually make room for like a vocal structure.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And a
Definitely.
couple things like I think it's like the last song on the record, Chris like did some singing like right off the bat, and it made me like want to change the entire song based off of what he did vocally. And now like I'm
Interesting.
like we can't write like this anymore. Like
Yeah.
now I think we need to write um vertically,
Hmm.
because now that we have like vocals in the band, um, it can't just be like guitar driven the whole time.
Right.
So it's like we need to write like a section or two and then be like, what are you hearing like for vocals here? And then maybe based off that vocal melody, we're gonna find something, what to do for the next section.
Interesting. That's actually a unique way of doing it, because I mean, so thinking with vocals in mind, like usually, like what with Anthony right now, he's having to like figure out like patterns
Well,
and stuff over the music and stuff. But
not
like,
really doing that. We're just writing words still. But yeah, that's gonna. It's
but you know
what
what
it
I'm
is.
saying, though. You're gonna
What
have to,
that's.
though. You're
I know
gonna
what
have
you're
to.
gonna say is which
Yeah.
is the music is a solid thing that is handed to me, and then I write the words, and Casey and I figure out how we organize the words. And then things happen while you're recording as well too, where I'm like, oh, this phrase I could say it rhythmically a little
But
bit
that's
different.
but
So
what I'm saying is that's interesting to like do
hear
it
it from that
opposite.
perspective. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like opposite of like, okay, vocal. Like I have this idea for a vocal part to come in after that part. That's like
I've
this.
never been part of the band where vocals were a thing that anybody was thinking about while the riffs were being written, you
Yeah,
know?
because fuck you.
Neither. Yeah, me neither. I mean, I've been in one band that was kind of like supposed to be like a more like radio friendly metal band, and
Hmm.
we were just like, you know, I remember me being told to like hold back a lot and make the riffs like a lot simpler and more
Mhm.
open, and to have more like open ambient sections because there's going to be like a verse here or whatever, and I felt like very like restricted when I was in that band. And that was kind of a big turning point for me where I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I want to just start like an instrumental band and just go like in the prog direction.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask you is like was there bands that you were starting to listen to, or yeah, I wanted to know that missing link of touring with those types of bands that we had already talked about, like the hardcore metalcore style
Mhm.
versus like that bridge to prog. I want to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, for prog, really, like, I think what got me into prog was hearing Chimp Spanner. That
Oh
was kind of
damn.
yeah,
Whoa,
that was
throwback.
really like a turning point for me.
Mm.
I'd never heard anything like that before, and that was kind of like the deciding factor was like, this is like what I want to do. Like this is the kind of like music that I feel like I could express like the best, and just like instrumental. Um, that's like when I got like an 8 string, and I think I started discovering more bands like Scale the Summit and Meshuggah. Um, I was still listening to like death metal. Like I feel like
Hmm.
if anything, Decapitated like really like
Yep.
shaped me as a
Yeah.
player growing up. You know, and even like the more techie stuff too, like Necrophagus, like I remember listening to like Epitaph, like when that came out and being like, whoa, this is like fucking crazy. And,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so it was like a lot of those bands that kind of like started, you know, shaping me, and like Fear Factory, the really like fast rhythmic stuff,
Fuck
like
yeah.
inspired me um to like kind of get a more like extended range guitar and just try something different, you know. So I had
Yeah.
started my first instrumental band, and it was called what?
Sorry.
Oh, just
No,
the view got all fucked up.
Joel still fucking his views
No,
sometimes all of a sudden get
Casey bounced and like had the view like that, and then like I unclicked it, and then we were all zoomed in like shit. But no,
Oh,
as far as like Fear Factory was huge for me coming out of new metal.
yeah.
Fear Factory because of the 16th notes matching the double bass. Like
Yeah.
like they were the first band to really do that. Like let's be honest, like that was like a
Yes. Mhm.
Now, when I first heard that, I was like, holy shit, this is like the rhythmic part of it, and also like Soul of a New Machine like was kind of death metal.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were
pretty death
more
metal.
yeah,
Yeah, so it was kind of like a,
industrial style death metal.
and that's the
That's
reason why I got a 7 string in high school. I was like 2002 I got a 7 string because I was like, well, Dino plays one, so that's like what I'm like going after right now, is that like kind of like heavy, like I think Obsolete just came out, but Fear Factory
Oh,
and
yeah.
Chimp Spanner is, it's funny that you bring that up. Chimp Spanner. Um that
Yeah, color tees.
yeah, was amazing. I mean, I remember when I was quick little stint in the beginning of Brain Drill was me and Dylan like starting a project together, was Brain Drill, and we were like jamming together, and he was all about like that's like Chimp Spanner, but he's all about like you know, like shreddy stuff too. But I'd never heard that style, and I think it was really ahead of its time, because that was a while ago when he showed me that.
Yeah.
I was like, it's almost that Periphery Meshuggah kind of like style of riffing where I was like, huh, like where is this band? Like what's going on? They're like this instrumental, like kind of before Animals as Leaders kind of style of band. And
Yep.
first time I've ever heard that brought up on the podcast. But yeah,
well, let's
that
not
was
forget about Frederick Thorndahl's Special Defects too,
oh
dude.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
That's like
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
one
totally.
big key component for me too, that helped me understand what was going on. And dude, the drummer, or was he the drummer? No.
that dude,
What's his name? Morgan
Morgan of
Argen.
Acker. I don't even know.
I
Anyways,
think it's Morgan Argen, but we're saying it like Americans.
Morgan Argerin. But anyways,
Well, he was in
but yeah,
that
that
Matt's Morgan project. That's what it is.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was insane. So that inspired you too, though, Nicole, right?
Yeah, and honestly, like I actually discovered Chim Spanner after I discovered Meshuggah.
I was
Because
kind of there right now.
yeah,
Argen.
somebody had told me like, "Oh, let me show you like the guy who like originally kind of like ripped off like Meshuggah or Frederick Thorndahl or something." And
Yep.
then like I heard Chim Spanner, and like I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I could see that cuz like the 8-string stuff, but he was like you said, I thought he was way like ahead of his time." And I'm like, "Oh,
Totally.
like this is the future. Like why don't more people like know about this?"
Yep.
You know? So I kind of just went into like my prog phase for a while there, and like started this instrumental band called Meridium, and you know, we put out an EP, and then like people like we were getting these reviews, and like people were like, "Oh, it's like Opeth." And you know, I knew who Opeth was, but I never really like dove in and listened to them. So I didn't know, and I was so tired of getting these like, "Oh, it's like Opeth" kind of comments, and I'm just like, "All right, let me just fucking
Mhm.
listen to Opeth." And I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yes." I'm like,
Yeah.
"This is my favorite band in the world."
No, no, it's
And
fine.
like to
I
this
think it's my
day,
favorite band.
and I'm like, people were like, I first started writing instrumental, and people were saying it was kind of like Opeth or whatever. I mean, now I think like, no, it's not really like Opeth. But the fact that people were saying that was just like I think that's like kind of cool now.
It's amazing. Yeah, yeah.